Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom. Nathan Drinkard. I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. As a reminder, we're on Anchor, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're just everywhere these days, and we're also on the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel. Drink another fantastic episode as we move along here. Great to be with you again.
So, will we consider today a fantastic Friday or a fruitful Friday? You know what I'm saying? I like to play with them vernaculars like that a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
I think it could be both. It could be.
Okay,
I don't know, man. We're starting like 45 minutes earlier. It could be a Freaky Friday. You know.
I like that. I like where you go with that. Yes, glad to be back up in the booth, ready to give the people what they need. You know what I'm saying in this diplomacy, and I ain't talking about what Biden said, but with that said, I'll be remiss if I keep going forward without asking how you and yours doing over there, man.
Good man. Be back in I was talking to you about it a little earlier, but I'll be back in the legitimate broadcast booth tomorrow for some
Right,
Elizabeth City State college basketball. So definitely excited for that. But meanwhile, here we are for another great Drink of Wisdom episode. How about you, man?
right. Yeah, man. Hey, well, while you in the legitimate booth, I'll be over here in my comfort booth, cheering you on. Um, Before we get into that, while you say that, did you want to like give a quick little shout out to how they can listen to you if they listen to you, if they want to listen to you, like
Yeah, if
how
you had
that
a
work?
chance, if you had a chance to listen to the Down East Viking Football Classic, which seems like a lifetime ago, but it was last September. It'll be on the CIAA Sports app. That's the conference that Elizabeth State plays in. Game will be the women's game will be at 2. The men's game will be at probably about 4. So if you're interested in checking it out, that's where you can find us.
You heard the man. Make sure y'all check my boy out tomorrow. I'll be tuning in and out. Got some things going on over here, but I definitely make sure I listen in, see what you got going on in the great action. But with that said, another day, another dollar. We here to get the streets what they need. We see what they don't. Absolutely say what they want. And set your dinner plates because I know it's time to eat. We're a little earlier, so you might not eat until a little later. But go ahead and get ready to eat what we got right here. And last but not least, you know what time it is. Let's talk some sports, baby. Jay, what we got today?
Episode 40, we got the All Star NBA All Star Weekend on deck. We'll talk about Roger Goodell and his meeting with the civil rights leaders. Talk about NFL hiring practices, and we got some college football news that came down the pipe today, and we'll get into that a little later.
But first, let's start in the NBA last night. We had a barn burner last night. The Philadelphia 76ers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, you know what it is. Embiid, he's still on his MVP caliber tear, dropping 42 last night. With 14 rebounds and 5 assists. And dare I say he had a plus 13. And then on the other side, the reigning champs led by their leader, Giannis, 32 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, and I gotta say this: 2 from 4 for the 3 point line and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. So for those that like to point those stats out about Giannis, it seems to be getting better. Also, with that, this was a game last night that I think both of us. The reason we wanted to talk about this game because this game probably is going to test the parameters of who's going to be running the Eastern Conference or who we think should be running the Eastern Conference. And I should say, before I pass it over to you, Jay, this was the 76ers without James Harden. So we do, think we're going to see a different team once James Harden is in the mix. But with that said, the 76ers won last night by 3 without him. With that said, over to you, Jay. What was your opinion of the overall totality of the game as you watched it last night?
No, I'm not a real big hot take guy, but I think I might have one for you today and for the audience. I think in the big picture, what we saw last night in terms of Joel Embiid and the Greek Freak, I think we're looking at a battle for best player in the world for about the next 5, 10 years, maybe the short side of that. But I think that's what we're seeing. I think with how Joel Embiid is playing right now and how he played last year, it was definitely in the MVP conversation. I think we're looking at the best two players in the world right now.
Whoa, whoa. So what we saying about Durant at this moment?
I'm saying Durant, and look, I think this is probably not right now, but this is like the future of the NBA. This is where we're going.
Okay.
We know LeBron right now, as well as he's playing and as great as he is, he's it's hard to imagine that he's going to play much longer. Kevin Durant right now, he's still in the conversation right now, but we see how the Nets are sliding right now. We don't, and as far as KD, he is the absolute present. But as far as the future, when you like look ahead, KD's not the future anymore of the NBA. I could say the same thing about Steph Curry. For me, right now, as we look ahead and project, and maybe this is more accurate for like 2 years from now. But I think when you talk about the future of the NBA, and we know Giannis right now is in the conversation, Embiid, we know he has the talent. He's had the talent, and I thought he should have been the MVP last year. But as far as like where we're going, when we see Joel Embiid play like he did last night, and this kind of ties back in to what the TNT crew said last year. If you just want to drop 20 and 10, hey, you're a nice player. But we need what 30 and 15 or whatever Shaq said. We did a segment on that, and he responded to that after for a game or a couple games. But what we've been missing is a consistency. And that's what I think that we're seeing more from last season and now this season. We're seeing Joel Embiid focused, more consistent, because the talent's never been a question. So to me, really, the big difference to me between Embiid and Giannis is the motor. That's kind of what has been the difference between Giannis and Embiid over the past couple of years. Now it's a little bit more even because if Embiid plays with that motor and that aggression and that consistency, then it's a different ball game. So that's kind of my hot take. I think that these are the two best players in the world that'll be competing for that title post LeBron, and as KD continues to progress in his career as he gets on the back nine. Other guys, there may be some guys I'm missing. Maybe Luka gets in there at some point, but I don't think he's there yet. I think these are the two guys, and that's why this was such a.
What? Okay, so let's just throw this out here. Just throw a little wrench in what you're saying. What about last year's MVP? They play the same position, him and Embiid anyway. What do we play in this mix?
You talking about Jokic?
Yeah, that was last year MVP.
Yeah, you talking about Jokic? Yeah, and he may well figure into that. I just, even though he won the MVP last year, I don't look at him as the same. I don't look at him as quite the same class as Embiid and Giannis. I just don't. Maybe that's somewhat disrespectful, but I think Embiid, when you look at his talent, and again, it's all about consistency, and that's kind of I think where the Joker maybe winning the MVP. I think his health benefited him, but I think Jokic plays a more consistent brand of basketball than Embiid has in years past, and I think that consistency is the one thing Embiid's been missing, and I think it looks like he's starting to really tighten that up. And of course, we know the big question is his health. If his health holds up, then it's a whole different ball game. So that's what I think on that. In regards to the game last night, first of all, it feels like we ain't done an NBA game in a long time. I think people tuning in was probably like, these guys ever gonna do some NBA games? They just gonna talk about football. Well, the Super Bowl just wrapped up, so it's time to talk about a little basketball. And it's great to get this one. Great to get this one in as we approach the All-Star break, because I actually got to look at the standings and see what's going on here. But as you look at the Eastern Conference, you got Miami, you got Chicago, and then you have really a log jam 3 through 5. The 5 teams up top are only separated by 2.5 games. So Milwaukee, you look at them, they're in the 5th seed right now. That really doesn't mean a whole lot. I still think they're a team you definitely got to take seriously as a top contender in the Eastern Conference, even though they lost this game. And I did think, look, Philly had lost 7 straight in this series. So definitely it was, I think it was a significant win for them, at least for their mental makeup. And I think what they showed last night is without Ben Simmons, I always talk about these guys that they have in the backcourt. They still got a nice 4-guard rotation that they can bring out there, even though they let Seth Curry hit on up to Brooklyn with Ben Simmons. You got Maxey coming out here having a really nice season. And he didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but to me, late in the second quarter, when Tyrese Maxey got going, that kind of springboarded the Philadelphia 76ers And it was their game to lose from that point forward. Korkmaz coming out there hitting some threes. I thought that was important. About Shake Milton coming off the bench. I don't think was I talking about Danny Green ain't a part of this, is he? There's another guard. Who's the other guard for this team?
Um, what you talking about, Thibault?
Thibault, that's who he is. And Thibault, that's why I couldn't remember because Thibault didn't do anything last night. But
Yeah.
he's part of that mix. I'm talking about. When I talk about Thibault, Korkmaz, Milton, and Maxey, that's the 4 guard rotation that I'm talking about. So they still got plenty of juice in the backcourt. I really like the mix that they have. And then look, about Tobias Harris. He's probably a 3 on the championship team, but he can be a 3 at best because you got James Harden waiting in the wings. As long as James Harden can be the number 2, and I think even if James Harden is not the scorer of old, if he can be the facilitator that he's shown with Brooklyn, I think him and Joel Embiid are going to be devastating on the 2-man game for what they can bring for Philly. And I think, even though Milwaukee lost this game, I don't think there's any panic there. I really, they're still trying to that Serge Ibaka trade. They still trying to get him in the mix a little bit. I didn't think he was particularly impressive last night. I still think he takes too many threes, but that's how he plays the game now in the new age NBA of all the shooting. But you know how I feel about Milwaukee. It's I've had this position on Milwaukee for it's been pretty consistent now. Before Holiday arrived, it was Giannis gonna do his thing. What are you gonna get from Middleton and Eric Bledsoe? Now that Bledsoe ain't here no more, it's Middleton and Holiday. And Middleton, just for the most part, he was not very impressive last night. So when you combine how well Philly played offensively, they shot the ball 50%. I thought that was a little bit uncharacteristic of Milwaukee's defense. I think they're a little bit better than that. But Middleton just wasn't all that effective, even though he did put up 19 points and he was a +7. But Middleton, his inefficiency plus their bench, they didn't get anything from their bench last night. So I thought that was the big difference in the game. As far as Giannis, I thought Giannis played a really good game. I just thought he got started a little late. His first half, it was kind of like, where is he? Is he doing anything? And you look at his stat sheet and it's like, oh, he's doing something. I really felt like he got into the game more in the second half. In the fourth quarter, he had an impressive charge. This dude was knocking down jump shots. You know about Giannis, if he starts hitting jump shots consistently, and I'm telling you, if he can go 4 for 5 from the free throw line, and you'd probably like to get that up to 8 for 10, that's the problem last night. He didn't have as many attempts as he should. But if he shoots the ball with any level consistently, he is definitely a problem. But I thought Embiid, from start to finish, he was the story. He gave whatever defender was on him real problems. Ibaka couldn't handle him. I love me some Bobby Portis, but Bobby Portis just a little bit too. He's a little bit too short and a little bit too small. Embiid's just a bigger guy, and he used his size advantage to really do what he did with those 42 points. So, and Milwaukee in that fourth quarter made a real good charge, but if you look late in that game, they just had way too many empty possessions down the stretch. They had some silly reach-in fouls. Holiday committed just a silly reach on Embiid on the perimeter where he was trying to go for a steal, and they just did not execute. I think part of it, and you saw on one fast break possession, you saw Middleton coming in, and he thought Jordan Noir was going to slide to the corner, and Noir didn't slide, and Middleton just threw the ball out of bounds. There's just a lack of familiarity there because when you talk about Dante DiVincenzo going out to Sacramento, Pat Connaughton being down with a finger injury right now. So the backcourt in the reserves, they got some chemistry things they're gonna work on. Same thing with Ibaka, but they'll use the final couple months of this regular season, and by the playoff time, I think they'll be locked and loaded. I think that depending on what James Harden looks like and how he integrates with Philadelphia. I know what Chicago has been doing. I know about Miami and I know about Cleveland, and it remains to be seen, how Brooklyn can do when all their pieces come back together. But I think, these two teams, they got as good a shot as anybody as being in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Look, and I'm gonna start where you ended. Look, here's the deal for my Chicago fans and my Cleveland fans, and what was another surprise team I seen at the top of the conference? Okay, so boom, boom, Milwaukee.
I think those are probably your two. I think Miami probably belongs, I'd say.
Yeah, off the strength that Miami was in the finals in the bubble, I give them that. It's my thing is this. Listen, I applaud what Chicago doing. I applaud what Cleveland doing. But when you give me a random Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the regular season, that's cool. I got to see what you do in the postseason. And that's the reason why I give Miami their flowers. I done seen them do some things in the postseason. I give them that. But, like, right now, if you told me to bet the mortgage on the 76ers versus Chicago or Cleveland, I'm going with the 76ers. If you told me to do that with Milwaukee, I'm going with. I got it. What they did is, it's good for the NBA. It's a good storyline, but I haven't seen enough yet. And listen, what Chicago best player right now is DeMar DeRozan. We just seen what he do in the postseason. Cleveland best player right now seem to be Darius Garland. He's fairly young. We don't quite know yet. We got to see more, right? So. That said, I agree with you. I think these are two teams to keep an eye on. I got Miami is in that mix, but be honest, I like Miami. But if you give me 7 games of this type of Embiid or this type of Giannis, I don't know. I think Bam Adebayo will have his work cut out against either one of these teams. Now, to the game last night, here's the deal. One big thing I seen out of this game last night was the grit of both teams. Look, we know the history of the 76ers on the road. They usually are not a good road team. Last night they showed, when you watching this in the first quarter, you like, hey, the Bucks might get 76ers on out of here the way this looking. They were sluggish, wasn't looking all that good. Called a timeout in the second quarter, and then Tyrese Maxey said, yo, hold my Gatorade bottle. And I mean, Not to say he did everything by himself, but his effort willed them back into the game. And then I want to say at halftime they had like a 5 or 6 point lead at halftime.
It was 8. It was 8.
8. Okay, something. Okay, I knew something like that.
Tip in at the
with
buzzer.
the tip in at the buzzer. So then you come out in the second half, and like you said, it was pretty much Philadelphia game to lose, which it seemed that way it was going to happen once the fourth quarter rolled around. Philly started turning over the ball. Then on the very, very last play of the game, George Niang, they got him to step out of bounds or do like some hesitation move where they turned over the ball. So Milwaukee got the last shot. Middleton didn't really get a great shot on the last shot, but Milwaukee did get the last shot of this game. And I think that's just due to the grit of both teams. Like I said, Philly could have packed it in the first half. They did not. The Bucks could have packed it in the second half. They did not. So we had a fantastic finish with that game. Well deserved. And I do agree with you. If Joel Embiid does not get hurt, he should be hands down the MVP. We talked about this. Last year, Joel Embiid, I think maybe we thought his gap was bigger than what it really was with the voters. Because we thought, okay, well, he was hurt. Okay, cool. But he came back. He was playing. It's like, his gap was so big before he got hurt, he should still be the MVP. Sadly to say, Jokic was closer than we thought, and that time did cost Joel Embiid, and Jokic ended up being the MVP. Well deserved for him as well, but we thought it was Embiid award to lose. Now this year, it seems to be going that way, if not better, because Embiid seems to be more healthier, and he seems to be taking the game more serious this year, and he knew, I think coming into the season, he knew it was not going to be no Ben Simmons around. So he knew he had to take on more of the load, more of the scoring load. He seems to be playing that way. That's why I'm hoping James Harden comes in and keep this going and don't stagnize Joel Embiid with ISO ball or dribble. Like, listen, the reason they traded for you is because you possess a myriad of skill sets that Ben Simmons didn't quite possess. Like, you can shoot the ball. You can pass the ball. You've been around the league long enough. You have a high IQ of basketball. Now, with all that said, you're playing with one of the best players in the league right now. My problem with James Harden is this. He don't play well when he plays with one of the best players in the league. So that's something to keep the eye on. Every time, correct me if I'm wrong, his Houston days, because I'm not gonna pacifying for his OKC days because he was young and they traded him away. They didn't know what they quite had. But in his Houston days, anytime he got a second great player, it didn't work out. He had Dwight Howard in probably the tail end of his prime. That didn't work out. He had Chris Paul. That didn't quite work out. Chris Paul got hurt, but we seen the divorce at the end where Chris Paul got traded away. Then he had Westbrook, somewhat still a star. That didn't work out. He gets traded over to Brooklyn. Don't really like the fact that Durant get plays called for him. Kyrie probably rubbed him the wrong way. Now he's with 76ers. We'll see how that work out. But let's just keep in mind, James Harden do have a track record about himself. With all that said, we'll see once he come back to play, how that works out. To your point, it should be easy as butter. Because if you can sit here and lob it up to Clint Capella, I have to believe you could do the same thing with Joel Embiid. The problem with that is I just don't think James Harden is the same player he was when he had Clint Capella. So, with that said, we'll see how that work out. To the Milwaukee Bucks, here's the deal. Hey, folks, no need to, burn the house down. This is just a Tuesday in the NBA schedule. A Thursday, I'm sorry. Just another Thursday in the NBA schedule. I think Milwaukee will be fine. You spelled it out. No Pat Connaughton. I think that hurts that rotation in the back end. But I'm going to tell you like this, man. You said something about Bobby Portis being small. And on the defense side of the ball, you're right. Joel Embiid was like, let me go ahead and get this snack right quick. And I got that. But what I do like about Bobby Portis was he did not shy away from Embiid when it came to playing on the boards, when it came to, getting down there and get gritty and dirty. He know Embiid is bigger. You can watch it on TV and be like, yo, that dude ain't got nothing for Embiid. But he still went in there and did what he had to do. So I had to give him kudos. And I'm going to tell you like this. If Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton keep on with this flippity-flop flam that they got going on, I'm about to call Bobby Portis one of the big three. One of these max contract dudes going to get put up out of here. Because let me tell you something about Bobby Portis. I thought he was a sham. I thought he was propaganda when he first came over from Chicago. After he broke the dude's face for whatever he did, he smacked the dude up in Chicago.
He kicked Mirotic out the league.
Yeah, like that dude went to the Pelicans and we didn't see him again. Like he was first thing smoking back to Europe. So I honestly thought Bob Portis was just a gimmick. I really did. I was like, all right, this dude out here fighting people. He got anger issues, this, that, and the third. Came to Milwaukee, made a good like career for himself. He seems to be a fan favorite. And for what I like, he's consistent. I think he's consistent for what you want him to do. He's an undersized 5. So when he go against natural 5s, it is what it is. When he go against the Embiids and the Jokic of the world, he's going to be undersized. They're going to probably get what they want on him. But what he is going to do is make them work on the defense side of the ball because he might be undersized, but that energy, he's going to get up there. He's going to do some things. So honestly, in my opinion, personal opinion, I think Bobby Portis, and it might not show as big on the stat sheets, I think he's the second most consistent player. Not best player, but consistent player. So, with that said, I just want to give Bob Portis his flowers because I watched him last night and I said, hell, the man doing about as good as anybody else doing with Embiid right now. So, it is what it is. You can't even fault him. This dude trying to get the MVP trophy.
Think about, and just to the point about those front court guys, don't forget, Brook Lopez, another guy who's not in the lineup now for Brooklyn either.
Right.
I assume they get him back. When you can have him, Giannis, Bobby Portis, and Serge Ibaka. Remember how I talked about Denver having the best 3-man group of front court guys with Porter, Gordon, and Jokic? That's the best 4-person group. I don't think there's another group of 4 front court players that are better than what Milwaukee has. Final quick points, real quick. I do got to shout out a couple guys. Jordan Noir for Milwaukee. He's obviously being forced in the starting lineup because of DiVincenzo leaving and Connaughton being out. I thought he was impressive last night. He wasn't scared. He was out here just launching from 3. He showed he can play, former Louisville Cardinal. And you know what? I don't think I've ever said anything nice about George Niang. He played good last night. He did. Big body. You can tell like he was, Giannis can't just completely run him over. and he spread the floor well. I think he fits in well. Good for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was the best game for George Niang. With that said, good win for the 76ers. And I'm pretty sure we're going to call more 76ers and Buck game, or well, recap and, preview more of the games throughout the season. So we'll see how that go. You know what I'm saying? Let's move on to that All-Star break.